Hey guys, welcome back. So today I want to give you a chocolate. So now you must be wondering why this guy want to give me a chocolate, right? So the concept that we're going to discuss today is just like eating a chocolate. It's very simple and very straightforward. But it's pretty useful whenever you will go and work in real-time application, right? So we'll be talking about two annotation today. One is add value and add required annotation. And also we're going to learn how to load literal values from a properties file, which is pretty much useful whenever you will work in a real-time application. So at required annotation, at value annotation, how to load literal values from a properties file, and we'll be doing it both in XML side and in Java side, right? So a whole lot of good thing that we're going to discuss here in this tutorial. And also once we are done with this tutorial, we'll be talking about a real-time scenario. We'll be doing some assignment, and also I'll be giving you an assignment as well, right? So let's get started. Okay, so now let's come back to our business, right? So right now, let's say, okay, let's think like this. Now, let's say I run a startup. I have a startup. My startup name is Selenium Express, and this is a kind of educational startup. And you know what? I have few students, right? So whenever a student is come to me and want to be enrolled for a course, I want to ask him three things, right? What the student name is. The second thing is what course you want to take. I mean the interested course. And the third thing will be his hobby, right? So let's quickly declare three variable here. First thing will be private string, his name, right? Second thing will be, let's say second a string, interested course, okay? The next thing will be, again, it's gonna be a string, hobby, right? So I want to store these three information about my student, right? And right now I'm going to generate the getter and setter for it. So I'll go to source, I'll do generate getter and setters, and I'll select the all, and I'll click on select setters, and okay, right? That's looking good. And one more thing that I want to do over here, I want to generate a display method here, display student info, and here I want to print student name, right? Student name, and I want to concatenate it with the name variable. And similarly, I want to have a few more sys out over here, and I want to edit it to interested course is interested course, right? And similarly the hobby, where is hobby, okay, and the name will be, I'll replace it to hobby, right? Looking great. So my class is ready, my pojo is ready. Let me maximize it. Okay, so this is a very simple class, looking pretty straightforward. I have three literal values over here: the name, the interested course, and the hobby, right? Three things I want to set about a student, right? So how to inject all these things, how to inject all this dependency by using Spring? We already understood that we are going to be using a configuration file, and let's say the configuration file name will be bins.xml. Okay, so right now I have a very simple bins.xml file over here, and I know you will not have any difficulty to create or set a bin right now. So let's create a bin very quickly, and let's configure its dependencies, right? So first of all, I'll give the ID as student, and the name of the class. So the class name will be, okay, so let's get the qualified name of it. So I'm going to get the qualified name, copy qualified name. I'll be coming over here, pasting it over here. And here I'm going to use a tag called property, right? So let's use the property tag. And before that, let me zoom it a bit and let me maximize it. Okay, so right now let's use the property tag here, and the name will be name, and the value will be, let's say Abhilash here, and let me end the property right here, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it for a few times here, Control V and Control V, and the name here I'm going to change it to interested course. So let me copy this to avoid some typos here, and let's say the interested course will be Java, and the hobby will be what? Let's say I love cricket. Oh, I love cricket, but I don't know the spelling of cricket. It's pretty funny. Okay, so right now my bean is configured, and right now we need to test this out. So to test it out, I don't need any job right now. So could you please go out? Okay. So right now I need a client application, right? And I'm not going to write one today. Rather, I'm going to copy one of the file from my previous project. I'm definitely sure that if you are following my course, you will not have any problem right now to create a client application, right? A client class. It's very simple, right? Okay. So this is a simple client class that I have written to test my application. So first of all, I'm creating my container object, application context equal to new class path application context, and my configuration file name is beans.xml. The next thing over here is pretty simple. Just a simple sysout is saying beans.xml file loaded. It will help us to understand, okay, our container object is getting created or not successfully. And the second thing that I want is from my context, I want to get the bean that I have recently created, and my bean name that I have given is student. Am I sure is student? Most probably. I don't trust my spelling. Student, and the type will be student.class, right? Simple. And right now I want to get the student class object, so student equal to, there you go. And now I want to call the student class display method, right? Student display student info, right? This is the method you have in your student class. If you want to go into this method, control and click it. Okay, so this is the method I want to call, right? As simple as that. So if my values are successfully injected, I should be getting all this particular value. I'm logging it out over here. I'll be getting my name, interested course, and the hobby, right? So finger crossed, and let's run the application. And most probably you should be getting, you should be getting all the three things injected to the respective variable, right? Dependency injection, pretty simple, we understood, right? Right now for the name, interested course, and the hobby, the values are got injected, and we have done it by using the XML file, and you have already know about it, right? So sorry because I bored you for the last 5 minutes. Okay, so right now here is the interesting thing. Here is the thing that you need to care about, right? And guys, pretty useful, as I said, right? It looks very simple, but it's pretty useful in a real-time perspective, right? So right now, let's say in the beans.xml file, these are all static value, right? Abhilash, Java, and cricket. These all are static values, right? Is these values are changing right now? No, right? This is Abhilash, right? This is a static value only, right? So right now, I want to load these particular values from a properties file, right? So what is a properties file? Don't wonder about it. This is very simple, right? What I can do in your class path, let's create a properties file right now. In the src folder only, I'm going to do what? I'm going to do a right click, okay? Then I'll do what? New, and I want to create a text file actually. Others, I want to create what? I want to create a file, right? And the file name I want to give is, let's say, I want to store my student information. Let's say student info dot properties. Okay, so here the file name that I have given is student info dot properties, right? And I'm going to hit finish. Now here, this is my properties file, right? And here I'm going to write something like this. Let's say my student name will be Abhilash, okay? And let's say name will be Abhilash. Then the next thing I want the interested course, right? The course name, let's say Abhilash love Java. And the next thing will be hobby. Let's say my hobby will be cricket, okay? Simple, right? You don't need to give any semicolon here. Okay, the programmer's bad habit, whatever you write, put a semicolon. You don't need to give any semicolon here. Okay, so name equal to Avilas, interested course equal to Java, and hobby equal to cricket. Looks pretty straightforward. Okay, so this part will be called as name and this part will be called as value. So in the properties file, you basically need to define a name value pair. This is a name and this is a value. This is a name and this is a value, right? Okay, so here is pretty straightforward right now. I've created a properties file called studentinfo.properties. The extension will be .properties. Okay, and here I have defined a name value pair, right? Okay, so guys, this is not a standard approach to give the name, right? So what is the standard approach? Okay, so here it is better to say student.name. So if you're not writing this, it is absolutely fine. But let's follow the industry approach, right? So let's say student.name and let's say student.interested course and student.hobby, right? So right now this is your name and this is your value, right? This is your name and this is your value, and similarly this is the name and this is the value. Right now you have a question, definitely. Vilas, why all this drama, right? Why I need to write student.name, student.interested course? Why don't I simply write interested course equal to Java? That is also absolutely fine. But what about if you are let's say I'm running a educational institution. Let's think like that. I'm not running any educational institution. But just think like, let's say I have a educational institution. So if you go for any institute, okay, what kind of people you'll find there? You'll find students and you'll find teachers, right? Let's say I have a student here. Let's say I'm not following this student.name, right? I'll remove this student. So the name is here, name, and the value is here as Avilas, right? Let's say here in this properties file, I am saving both my students and teachers. So I have a student here called Avilash, and let's say I have also a teacher called Avilas. Right now this is a conflict, right? So by looking at this particular file, could you guess which Avilas is teacher, which Avilas is student? No, right? So what about I'll follow a pattern like this, student.name, and I can write teacher.name. Right now it's pretty simple, right? Now if you want to load the data from this particular properties file, and I told you, hey dude, just load the student name, then you come to here and you say, okay, this must be the student name because I am following the pattern, right? The pattern is correct. Student.name, it looks pretty straightforward, right? So always try to give your application name over here, just like if you are developing a food cart application or a foo bar application or a what I can say, application like Selenium Express, write Selenium Express dot name. Okay. So let me write it student.name for now. Okay, it's pretty simple. So this is the name and this is the value. Hope I haven't bored you. So right now what I'm going to do, okay, so now my properties file is ready, right? It looks pretty simple, pretty straightforward, right? So right now my job is to load these values, okay, these values from this property file to the bins.xml file. Right now it should not be a static value, it should be dynamic, right? And how to load dynamic values? By giving a dollar symbol, dollar symbol, and here you need to pass the property name. So I'll go to the properties file and this is my student name, right? I'm going to copy this, Control C, come over here, and in the value do a Control V or Command V, whatever you like. Okay, so here this is a dynamic value, right? So this particular value is going to come from the properties file. Okay, simple. So the next thing will be interested course, right? Again, I'll go to my properties file, I'll copy this stuff, I'll do Command C, I'll come over here, and here I'll give a dollar symbol, I'll give curly braces here, and I'll do Control V, right? And same thing as here as well. I'll give a dollar symbol, open and close curly braces, go to the properties file, copy this student.hobby and come back to the bins.xml file and Control V and Control S. Done. Simple. So this is how you need to load the literal values, the string values from a properties file to your config file or to anywhere in your application by giving a dollar symbol, then keep the parenthesis, what do we call that? Curly braces. Curly braces on and curly braces close, and pass your properties over there. Pass the name, okay? So this is how we need to load the data from a properties file into our application, right? So right now, these are what? These are the name, right? And these are the names simply we are writing, and it is going to display the value for us, right? So let's test it out right now. I'm going to run this application. So I'll go to student.java right now, and I'm already calling the method, right? So I'm going to run this particular application. So what is your guess? Right now the values are going to come up or not? Let's see. So I'm going to run this application, and now what the heck is this? Student.name, student.course, student.hobby. But dear Spring, we do not need this. We need the value of that, right? Why you are giving us the name, right? We don't want the name, we want the value, man. Okay, so what's wrong we have done? Can you predict it? And might be you have predicted. That's good. So in the bins.xml file, we have done a simple mistake, right? Everything that we have configured here is right? So from today onwards, whenever you are going to, load a dynamic value from a properties file, you need to follow this approach only. But the mistake that we did, it's not a mistake, we missed a simple thing here. How Spring is going to know that from which particular file I'm going to load the values, right? From which particular file I'm going to load the values, how Spring is going to know about it? So I'm going to let Spring know that, hey Spring, so in the context, so I'll write context, control space, and here you can find a property placeholder, right? So here I need to use this tag, right? So this particular element is coming from the context, right? So make sure this context is available over here in your namespace, otherwise you will not get this particular option, context property placeholder, right? So here you need to provide what? You need to provide the location, right? So am I getting any location kind of stuff here? Yes, this is the location. So in this location, you have to mention, okay, your properties file name. So your properties file right now present where you can see your property file. This is your property file, right? This properties file is present inside the class path. Make sure your properties file right now present inside the src only, right? So src is what? This is your class path. Inside your class path only this particular file present. Later, whenever we'll be doing thing in Maven is a pretty much important tool, guys. Start learning about it. So whenever we'll be doing things in Maven, we are going to put this particular files and this particular files in resource folder. Right now we're not using Maven, so I simply kept it inside the src file, right? So right now I'm going to do what? Right now I'm going to copy the name of this. I'm going to do right click, rename, and I'm going to copy the name of this, Command C and cancel. And in the class path, let me maximize it first. Oh, I want to maximize it. Okay, so in the class path right now, in the class path here, I want to give the properties file name from where I want to load my data. So this particular thing you have to remember, context colon property placeholder, and provide the location where your properties file is present. If it is present inside your class path, you can do simply like this, class path colon and your file name. Okay, that's it. Right now let's go into our client.java again, and let's run this particular application again, and let's see what is happening. And there you go. Student name is Avilash, interested course is Java, and student hobby is cricket, right? Working. This is working, right? So right now if I'll go to my property file, let's test it out. If I go to my property file, and the name I'll give over here Abhilash Panigrahi, and the interested course is Java, the best language ever, right? And hobby, I will change it to cricket. Uh, what else? What else I like? I only like cricket. I like cricket. I like game a little, gaming. Okay, I'll do Command S. I'll go to client. I'm going to run it again, and let's check whether it's working. Oh, the name is coming as Avilas Panigrahi. The interested course is coming as Java, the best programming language ever, and the hobby is coming as cricket and gaming. So, so this is working, right? These particular things are working. So let me report it back to its original place. So whatever the things you are going to change from here, the application is always going to take the things from this particular properties file, and you can change these things, you know, the way you want. Simple, right? Okay, so this thing is done. The next thing we are going to do is what? Okay, so right now we understood. Okay, this is the important thing. This thing I haven't told you yet. So if you go to your student.java, okay, in your bins.xml file, okay. So here, right now these particular things are working, right? We know we can inject the value inside the student class for this type of value, for this type of dependency, which is string type or integer type. We are basically using the setter injection, and we're doing it by using the property tag inside the bins.xml file inside here, but using the property tag, and we might also use our constructor arg for constructor injection. But what if I don't want to do this kind of things, right? I'm going to control X over here. Okay, I don't want to set the properties over here, right, by using those XML stuff, right? I want to do it by using the annotations, right? So how to inject the literal values using the annotation? So do we have any kind of annotation in Spring so that we can inject the literal values, right? Right, in Java side only, I want to do the injection for this particular values. I don't want to do something like this. I don't want to do something like this. Rather, I want to delete it from here, and I'm going to come to the Java side to my student class, and I want to set the value here only. So how can I do it? It's pretty important. So it's pretty important, but it's pretty simple, right? So you want to set what? You want to set the name, right? So what you can do is you can simply write an annotation called at value. So at value, where are you? Okay, here we go. So I got add value annotation here, and I need to give the value for this particular property. So which property setter method is this? This setter method belongs to the name property, right? So I can write for the name, my value will be, let's say, Abhilash. Okay, let me hard code it for a moment, right? For name, I want to give the value as Abhilash. For interested course, I want to give the value as, let's say, value, and I want to give the value as let's say Java, and the hobby, right? For hobby, the value I want to give as value, and the value my hobby is, again, my hobby is cricket and making videos for you guys. So I'll write cricket here. Okay, you know, everybody's hobby is cricket in India, isn't it? We all wanted to be a cricketer, but what the heck we're doing over here? So okay, so these are the value, right? Now already. So if I'm going to my client application, and if I'm going to run it, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to hit OK. So let's see. Okay, so right now nothing is working, right? The student name is null, the interested course is null, and the hobby is null as well, right? So that means my injection is not working. This is not working, right? And in the bins.xml file, I have already removed the injection that we did by using the property tag, right? So why these values are not getting injected to this value is not getting injected to this? What is the reason behind it? So if I go to my client.java, and if I'm running it, I'm getting all the value as null, just like I haven't set all these values, but actually I have set all the value in my student.java using the value annotation, but it's not getting injected. And the reason behind it is as simple as, you know, eating a chocolate. So why this thing is not working, guys? Can you see this bin.xml file? And can you please remember? Uh, can you please remember about the thing that I told you in the last video during auto wearing? In the auto wearing, we have used the annotation at auto wear, right? And while we have used the annotation at auto wear, in the first time that didn't work, right? Then we did something, right? Then it started working. What is that? So I told you to use the annotation in Spring Framework. What you need to do in your, so if you have an XML file, so right now what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to activate my annotations, right? So to activate the annotation, what is the tag that I need to use here? Can you see all the available options here, and can you guess which one I need to use here? This is the one, right? Context annotation config, and that's it. Context annotation config. I'll end it over here only, and there you go, right? Now my annotations are activated. I can use the annotation for this particular project. So right now I'll go to student.java. So everything looks good. I haven't changed anything yet. I'll go to the client.java and I'll run the application, and let's see it this time. And you can see everything is working perfectly. Student name is Avilas, interested course is Java, and the hobby is cricket. So, if I go to student.java right now, just to check the cricket, I want to change it to my hobby and my another hobby. Okay, so my hobby is also traveling. So I'll write traveling, and I'll come to client.java again. Okay, so right now if I'm running this particular application, I'm damn sure the value that we have changed there is going to reflect here as traveling, right? So one thing we got to understand, how to inject the value for name, interested course, and hobby. This type of literal values, the string values, by using the value annotation, and how to use it also we have understood as of now. That's good. But guys, I'll tell you one thing. Okay, so I am just giving you a very simple task. Right now, look into this particular three properties that I have, three dependencies that I have: name, interested course, and hobby, right? From these three things, what thing you are going to consider as mandatory, and what things you are not going to consider as mandatory? That's okay, somebody is not providing that detail, but these are the details which is needed, which is mandatory. So if I'm going to see this name, if a student is coming to my institution, my duty is that I'm going to track his name. I am also going to track which particular course that he is going to take, he is going to enroll for. Okay, and also I'm going to track his hobby. But hobby is not that important, right? If somebody is not providing the hobby, that's fine, right? But somebody is not providing the interested course, that is not good, right? That's not fine, right? If I have an institution, my institution is there because I want to give some courses, right? So somebody is coming in, I need to take details about his name and courses, right? That is required, right? That is needed, right? Okay, so right now let's understand. Okay, so in the hobby right now, if I'm removing this add value over here, if I'm going to comment this out, right? Now if I'm going to go to client.java and if I'm going to run this application, what is going to happen? For the hobby, you can see it, this is null right now because we have removed it, right? But if I come to here, let's say similarly, if I'm going to remove this Java, this add value from the interested course, right now the interested course is also going to be null, right? So you can see it's coming as null. But I don't want it. I want, if you are creating the student class object, right? So here you are creating the student class object, right? You are defining the bean over here. So whenever Spring is going to create the student class object, I need to check whether the interested course, the property for interested course, so you can see in the student.java, this particular properties got the value or not. So the value for interested course has been injected or not. If it is injected, then only you create the object of student. Then only you create the bean. If the property is not injected for interested course, this is the mandatory property. If it is not injected, then do not create the object. So right now, if I'm going to go to this client.java application, and if I'm running it, right now, you can see for the interested course, the object is getting created, right? The student object is getting created over here, right? This got the student class. Okay, I can do one thing. Sys out student, right? My student object is getting created by Spring, and my Spring is just giving the student object to us, right? So this is the student class object. The Spring is creating, right? But I do not want to create this particular object if this property has not been given, has not been provided, the interested course, right? So what I can do? So right now you can see this hobby is null and the interested course is null. I want the interested course to be a mandatory field, right? So what I can do here, I can write here before the setter. Here I'm going to write another annotation called at required, right? There you go. Right now, I've just given an annotation over here called at required. This value I've commented. Let's remove this out because I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay, so right now I've given at required over here before the interested course, but I'm not setting the value for interested course. Right now, if I'm going to go to the client.java and if I'm going to run this application, let's say the student object is getting created or not. What happened? We got a exception here, right? So if I will maximize this application, you can see what is the problem. So first of all, the bean is not getting created, right? So there is a problem here. So let's understand that problem. I want to show you over here. Yes, so what kind of exception that you are getting? Bean creates an exception, so you cannot create the bean. Why? Because error creating the bean name student, for student it cannot create the bean because of what? Okay, in the beans.xml file, initialization bean failed. Why it is failed, buddy? Okay, so here is the problem. Bean initialization exception. It cannot initialize the bean. Property interested course is required for the bean student. For the object student, this particular property interested course is required. Okay, let's go back to our student class. Let's check it out. Okay, for this particular interested course, right? For this, before the setter method of this, I have given at required annotation. That means if the value for this is not provided, the student class object will not be created. Okay, so to create the student class object, it is mandatory to provide the value for it, right? So I'm writing value here and I'm passing it as what? Let's say, okay, this is interested course. Let's say Java again, and I'm going to command C it. I'm going to go to my client application and I'm going to run this application. So let me maximize it. You can see this probably. Okay, let me maximize it. Okay, so right now you can see the interested course is Java, and as I have provided the value for it, right now it is my student class object is getting created, right? So this is how you can restrict a particular field. You can make it mandatory, you can make it required, right, to create a bean. So if you talk about in the student or Java class also, here for the hobby also I'm not providing any value, but it is not giving me any error, right? The hobby is null, still the object is getting created, still the student class object is getting created, even if this hobby property is null. Why? Because right now this hobby is not required, but if I'm going to make it required, then what will happen? Can you predict? If I'm going to make it required again, and if I'm going to my client.java, if I'm going to run it, obviously I'm going to get the same exception because that hobby is required right now. So to resolve this particular issue, I can uncomment this. Now the hobby also got the value as traveling, and right now I can go to my client.java application, and if I can run this particular application. Now you can see my hobby is coming as traveling, the course is as Java, and the name is as Abhilash. Simple. The concept is done. Okay. So the next thing. Okay. So now I can see over here. Where is that? Okay. So this particular file. So right now this thing are static, right? These are the static values that we are providing. What if I'm going to load this particular hobby, interested course, and the sorry, the name, the interested course, and the hobby from a properties file? I can do the same thing over here. So before the value annotation, what I can do here, I can give the curly braces, I can give a command sign, okay? And I can simply do the same thing that we have done previously. So I'll go to my properties file. This is my name. So I'm going to copy the name of this, and I'm going to go to my student class. I'm going to do uh, control V here inside this curly braces, and there you go, done. And similarly for value, for the interested course, I can do the same thing again, $sign, and I'll go to this particular file, and I'm going to copy this student.interested course. I'm going to come back to the student.java class. I'm going to control V it over here. I'll do control S. Okay. For traveling also I can do the same, curly braces, and before that a $sign, because I want to load the dynamic data from a properties file. And here the hobby, I'm going to copy it, and similarly I'm going to paste it over here. Control S. I'm going to go to so right now everything is set, right? Okay, let me minimize it as well. Okay, right now this is how I can load the dynamic values from a properties file, just the same way that we have done with the XML file. So right now if I'm going to my client.java application, if I'm going to run it, let's check it out what is going to happen. You can see uh, name is coming as Avilash, course is as Java, hobby as cricket. Now I'll go to my properties file. Right now I can change the cricket to, let's say, making videos for my lovely people. Okay, you guys are so lovely, seriously. You guys always make my day, right? Whenever I read your comments, I feel so good. So I'm going to run this application again, and yeah, there you go. You can see it is taking it from the properties file only, right? Making videos for my lovely people. This is the student hobby. Okay, so for the last 20 minutes my video was not recording, and my voice was just captured by my laptop only. So probably you'll have no video and some noisy voice as well. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, so right now we understood about the add value annotation and add record annotation, right? And we're using this add value annotation before the setter method. And the way the values are getting injected from the properties file to this particular variable by using the setter method, right? So if I'm going to write something like this out using the set name method, just to make sure that this particular method is getting executed and these values are getting injected to its respective properties by using the setter method. That's why I'm just creating some logging statement over here in this particular setter method, and here also I can use that the using the set interested, what is that, I can copy this, copy and paste it using the set interested course method. And similarly for hobbies I can write hobby method, right? Right now if I can go to my client.java class, and if I'm going to run this particular program, you can see all those logging statements here in your screen, right? Using set name method, using set hobby method, and using set interested course method. That means all these particular values, Avilash, Java, and making videos for all my lovely people, all these things are getting injected by using the setter method, because we are putting the add value annotation before the setter method only, right? But what about if I'm going to move? So right now I'm just going to remove this required and required here, and right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this add value annotation to here, to the field level. This is the field, right, name field, and I'm going to use the add value annotation just before the field. And right now let's check that my name is getting injected to this name variable or not. So to test this out, I'm going to do what? I'm going to go to my client application, and let's run this application as well. And you can see the name is getting injected. Perfectly fine. So right now, for this particular name, the values is getting injected to this, and the values are values we are getting from the properties file. That's fine. But one thing, if you can see the console, one thing you will find as a defect. It's not a defect. One thing you can find which is missing over here. So for this name properties, right, the setter method is getting called or not. See how many times the setter method is getting called. 2 times. For interested course it got called, for hobby it got called, but not for the name, right? So that means this particular method is not getting called, right? I can remove it. I can remove the setter method right now for the name field. Right now, let's go to the client application and let's run it. Let's say we're getting any exception or not. No, we're not getting any exception, and our values are also injected fine. That means whenever we are putting the add value annotation before the field, like AutoWord, right, the setter method we do not need. So for all these values, right, I can do what? I can command X here, and before the interested course properties, I'm going to put this, and before the hobby, I can do what? I can copy this, command X. I'm actually cutting it. I'll cut it and I'll paste it over here, and I'll remove all the setter method that I do have here. Okay, so nothing I have. I have a display method. I have all my properties with add value annotation before it. So right now everything will be working as expected or not. Let's check it out. Let's go to the client application and let's run it, and you can see all the values are right now also getting injected, and we are not actually using the setter method right now. And you can see over here we are not setting any properties. We are only setting the properties over here and over here and over here, right? And no setter method, right? So add value annotation, we can use it before the field, right? Before the field only, before the property only, before the dependency only, we are using the add value annotation. Is that clear? I think it is. Okay, so right now I'm going to give you a task. Okay, try with at required annotation here and let me know whether it is working or not. I'm not going to do it. Okay, so my question is, at required annotation we can use before this particular field or not? Can I write at required here? Can I write at required here? Okay, you test it and you let me know required is allowed in this particular position or not. Okay, so that's it. So right now I think you are clear with add value annotation before the field. So what else remaining? I think we are all good with this particular concept right now. It's time for an assignment. So right now we do not need this at required annotation here. So let me remove it from here. Let me do Control S. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, so right now what I need to do an assignment. Okay, so I don't need to do an assignment. I'll give you an assignment. Okay, so let's understand what is the assignment, and the assignment that I'm going to give you guys is pretty important. Okay, you can do it. You will have a lot of fun while doing the assignment. But the thing is, if we are done with that assignment, whenever you are going to look into a real-time application, and if you are going to find any of the things like this at value like this in a real-time application, things will be very simple for you. You can understand how this particular things is actually working. Okay, so let's talk about the assignment right now, and yeah, let's go for it. Okay, so now my job is done. Okay, I'm all relaxed. My job is done. Now it's your job, right? Because you are going to do an assignment. Okay, so what is your assignment? So okay, so you all know about Jdbc, right? I think most of you, if you are following the spring course, you are already familiar with Jdbc, right? And you know that how to connect to a database using Jdbc, right? Okay, if you don't know also, that's fine. No, that's not fine if you don't know. Go and learn it. Okay, you have to know that. Okay, so now let's tell me, to establish a connection between your application and your database, what are the things that you need? Okay, so if you are already familiar with Jdbc, you might have already know you need 4 things. First of all, you need to load your driver. If you are using the Oracle database, you need to load the Oracle driver. If you are using the MySQL database, you need to load the MySQL driver, right? And then you need the URL, the database URL, okay? And the next thing will be your username, and the next thing will be your password, right? So your driver could be something like com.jdbc.mysql.driver, or for Oracle specific driver, you need to load your driver using class.forName or something, okay? And then you need to establish the connection by providing the URL, username, password, right? And that's how we do programs in Jdbc, right? Okay, good. So now your responsibility is, first of all, you need to create a properties file, okay? You need to create a properties file, something like MySQL connection or database connection.properties. In that properties file, you take 4 things. The key is mysql.username is equal to root, mysql.password is equal to avi or something else, whatever your database password is. mysql.url is equal to your MySQL, your DB URL, okay? And then mysql.driver is equal to com.jdbc.mysql.driver, okay? These are the 4 things that you need to take in your properties file, okay? So now you need to create a class, okay? The class name will be something, let's say Jdbc connection, okay? In your class, okay, you will have 4 properties like username, password, URL, and driver. These are the 4 properties that you are going to take in your class. Now use the add value annotation before the field and try to inject all the properties that you have in your properties file. In your properties file also, you have defined your username, password, URL, and driver. Now inject those things into your application, right, by using the add value annotation. This is the task number 1. Once you injected all these things, if your configuration is correct, just have a display method like to print the username, password, URL, and everything, right? That will make you confirm that all your values are coming perfectly. Try to log them out in your console, and you will find that, okay, right now all my values are loading perfectly. Now once your values are loaded, that's a good job, okay? Once you do that, if you are reaching in this level, then you passed the level number 1. Then the second thing will be, you need to do what? You need to create a method called, let's say, get Jdbc connection, okay? Let's say it will be a void method, public void get Jdbc connection, and try to get the connection. Try to establish the connection between your database and application. So how to get the connection in Jdbc? So first we need to load the driver, right? So you can do class.forName, then pass driver, your field reference over here, right? So first you do class.forName and pass the driver over here, okay? Don't write manually com.jdbc.mysql.driver. Don't write it manually. Already you have your driver variable, right? Already you have your driver field over there. Pass that driver over the class.forName, and once it is done, the driver will be loaded. Then try to get the connection. You can do driver manager .get connection and pass the URL, the username, and the password into the parenthesis, right? Once that is done, you will get a connection object, right? Your connection will be successfully done with your database, right? So you need to design the method for get connection, and you need to design the method just to display all this driver, username, password, and URL is getting loaded or not to your application. You need to develop 2 methods, and you will have 4 fields with add value annotation. The value you will be getting from the properties file. Is it complicated? Do I need to do this? No. I'll give you this assignment, right? I'll just check how much progress you can make, okay? You do correct, wrong, it doesn't matter. You just send that file to me. I just want to check, how good you are going and how well you have done. And if you're not able to do it even, how much you can progress. Just let me know about it, right? You can send that particular file to me at seleniumexpress@gmail.com. Sorry, I just forgot my email ID also. seleniumexpress@gmail.com, or you can ping me in my Facebook page, right? Facebook/Selenium Express. I'll check your assignments there, right? So this is the assignment for you. This is a pretty simple assignment. So the step number 1, create the properties file, define all the properties, the Jdbc properties that you need, like URL, username, password, and the driver. Then you create a class called Jdbc connection, define all the properties, use the add value annotation to get those property into your application, then create a method called get Jdbc connection and load your driver, and use driver manager.get connection method, which will give you the connection object back, right? That's it, right? That's what I want from you. Okay, so this is it from this video. In the next video, we'll be talking about some more annotations like add component and add component scanning, right? In the next video, we're actually going to remove the XML file completely, the bins.xml file that we are creating all the time in this particular projects. We're going to remove that particular XML file completely, and we are only going to write the Java code, no XML, okay, from the next video. Hope you are interested. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye and happy coding.